Well, howdy, Nearly Senior Citizen here. Greetings, boys, girls, and all of our non-binary friends, and welcome to this, a brand new day. Thumbs up for that. Hokey smokes. It's not a wonderful day. It's not a terrible day. It's a day, but I'm finding it super difficult to get any motivation inside of my body. It is 8:17 a.m. You know, for years I've been starting at like 7 o'clock, but I'm finding it so difficult to get motivated these days. Last night, as is not typical, but it happens a fair amount of time, I of course forgot to take my evening dose of Redline, and I seem to sleep if I don't take it consistently or don't not take it consistently. If I do and don't and let it break like that, I'm actually able to sleep better. So even though I'm finding it harder to get my mental engine started this morning, I actually slept last night. And that was good. I'm glad I did that, but still. Of course, YouTube algorithms demand front loading. If you could toss me a like if you like what you see in here, that'd be very cool. If you could subscribe to the channel if you haven't, that too would be awesome. If you could leave me a comment, I do like them, and I try to push through my executive dysfunction as best I can to answer as many as possible. So thumbs up on that. And of course, I do wish to thank each and every one of my Patreon patrons. These beautiful and awesome people help to keep me alive, quite literally. Hokey smokes. Now, my disability barely covers my rent, and no, I'm having troubles just surviving as it is, even with this. So without, I would have sank long ago. If you'd like to become a patron, that'd be very cool. If you do not wish to, or you don't want to check it out, that's fine. But you know, hey, I threw it out there for everyone. Good golly, Miss Molly. Front loading of the video over. So at least I slept. Now the bad part is I'm very depressed because my kitty is not doing well. Normally she chows. You know, she eats her first meal of the day when I get up, and then she's demanding food until I feed her, and then keeps demanding food all day. She has barely eaten anything in the past 2 some odd days. Almost 3 now. Normally she guzzles water, and I have to fill her water dish at least once, sometimes twice a day. I've only had to top it off over the past couple days. She's barely used her cat box. She's barely eating. She's moving around. She's curled up next to the space heater down there, and she still moves places and sleeps, but she sleeps more. So, after my wife died, her cat, who was only a couple years old at that point, 6 months after she died, he stopped eating and stopped drinking and developed open sores on all of his legs that were just constantly draining, and his kidneys had shut off. And within a week, I had to have him put down. I can't afford to do anything. I don't have enough money to buy food a full month. I've got bills I can't pay. I haven't been able to pay for my Redline yet. It's been, 8 months? I can't take my kitty cat anywhere. I have no vehicle to take her to a vet, should I even be able to pay for it. I do have a cat carrier, so I could carry her in the cat carrier there. But again, I don't have any money. I can't even afford to feed myself properly every single month. At the end of the month, I am quite often eating nothing for a day or two. Now, I could take her into the vet, and then I'd have no money at all to try and survive the rest of the month on. So there is a poverty tax in the U.S., and it involves everything. Because one of the things that is very important for your mental health is having a pet, actually. A pet of some kind is incredibly good for your mental health. But of course, you got to be able to pay for it properly. You got to take care of it if it needs help. You got to feed it. You got to do all those things. And if you can't, then you can't have a pet. So you're already in a bad state where your mental state is bad. And now you can't do anything to help because you can't do this, because you can't take care of something. And of course, the poverty tax in the U.S. goes even more than just poor things like that. I mean, if you lose Like, if you are paying for your water in the United States and then you accidentally lose the ability to pay for it in a month, they'll shut it off. And then there's a turn-on fee if you want to get the water back. Now, it might be that you needed to pay them $100 to have, them not turn off your water, but you missed it by a day, so you need it turned back on. Well, that's going to be $200 to get it turned back on. And then you're going to have to start paying for it again. If you couldn't pay the $100, how are you going to pay for the $200? There's that poverty tax if you want to move. You need to have first, last, and security deposit to move into a place. If you're going paycheck to paycheck where you can't even afford to eat, how can you save up first, last, and security deposit? It's bad in the U.S. and it's getting worse. It's like 40 or 56% of the United States is like nearing the poverty line or is under it. So it ain't good. It's not getting better. And so I don't know what's going to happen. I've actually made some calls to try and get into the VA social system to try and get some help for myself. So we shall see. We shall see. But I don't want to get too depressing. I mean, the state of my kitty cat, the state of my life, the state of the world. I mean, we talk about, it's like, what are things going to have? History's going to look back on this thing. It's like, I honestly do not know that we're going to have anything in 30 or 40 years. The Columbia River in the United States is almost dead just from lack of water. When that happens, it is going to impact so many world economies. Apparently this one river basin is one of the largest economies in the world, and the river is almost dying because of lack of water. In 10, 20 years, there's going to be not enough water for the western half of the United States to survive. On top of flooding, on top of world heating records. I don't know that there's gonna be a history to look back on. Oh, but again, try not to be depressing or depressed. Just trying to survive and do the best that I can. Hopefully, you are doing the best you can. I've been talking a lot about my creative stuff in my videos of late, and boy, those are... I talk about this creative stuff because it is important to me, and it is something that I'm working on, and is a project that I actually hope to get done before I perish, so it is important. I'm hoping that it's interesting to other people. I know I'm just talking and sitting, but, hopefully it's interesting, because after I've talked about everything, because I went on a walkies and it was dry and cold, and it was just a walkies. It was nice. And then I, fell asleep a lot during the day. I didn't really play mini games, and I did editing. Didn't really do anything. And now today it's a weekend, so it's going to be pretty much slower. But I do want to talk about this creative stuff because, again, it is very important to me. I think it's fascinating, and I love flexing my brain, and now that I'm on Ritalin, I can actually concentrate on these things. One of the things that I did want to mention, because I bounce around a lot, and I do things on this timeline I've got for this project that I'm working on. The project is getting kind of big. I need to bring in the scope. The idea was just a year on the razor's edge, but now I've actually got so much setting, so much characters, and so much situation that that's kind of like a trilogy already. So I kind of need to cut down the scope a bit. Shucks, the stuff that's happening just with the cryptid things in the outside portion of it, that's a whole series of novels all on its own. And then there's all this stuff on the inside with the apple rock kaiju, and just the razor's edge and all that on its own. And I'm still dealing with the King in Crimson, because after all, once the King in Crimson realizes the extent of the reach of the apple rock kaiju, that's another fatal flaw in their plan, and they can almost see the future turning into the taste of ashes in their mouth, because they've been manipulated by the apple rock kaiju. And they had no ideas that this was possible or was happening. They made no plans for this sort of thing, and now it's happening. They're realizing the Apple Rock Kaiju is much, much more powerful than anyone had ever planned. But at the same time, things still have to continue on their timeline for their agenda, which is just to try and make their kingdom as robust as possible so that it will last as long as possible after their inevitable end. Part of that has been the rollout of their own technologies and such throughout the entirety of not the entirety, but as much as they can safely and quickly throughout the inside, the razor's edge, and they're pushing into the outside. What I figured, since until like 5-10 years before the current time, the King and Crimson hadn't really worried about or thought about anybody here on the outside. But then things started happening with more transportation, things going on, greater communications. He became more aware. Well, they became, it's not a gendered sexed being, it is a being that we don't understand. But they became more aware of the outside, and that's important. There's a problem that they don't quite understand yet with their booster repeater things, because it uses quantum entanglement and such to spread the signal, because how are you supposed to get a signal from one infinite layer to another infinite layer to another? It's just, the logistics were horrific until using some of the tech we're developing out here with quantum stuff. They were able to figure out enough of quantum entangling so that each of these booster repeaters are quantum entangled. But they're having to put in more than planned because for some reason there's something going on. It should be that one booster in the Crimson Kingdom would work for everywhere. But the further away you are across further layers, and especially when you go outside, the signal degrades. The signal itself is fine, but the receiver software getting the perfect signal, it's picking up something else, and the further it goes, the less quality it gets. Until when you come from the outside, when you're on the outside, it's barely what we get normally, and that's not unacceptable. So the King in Crimson has actually incorporated a business on the outside, Redline Communications. They do cloud server stuff, data server areas, and, well, data farms, server farms, and they also do small level communications rollouts and internet service. If you're just a normal person with no sight, they're just a small startup, Redline Communications. But they're also the Crimson Kingdom. And if you've got the sight, you can actually see that their vehicles, it's Redline Communications, a Crimson Kingdom electronics industry. That's on there, but if you don't have the sight, you can't see it, and so they build up this place in this town in the southeastern United States. I'm still trying to come up with a name of the town. I need it to be something that sounds normal and good, but I don't want it to be a normal and good place. There are so many weird places, so many small towns, you can't choose a name that's not going to be in use. I mean, take a look. There's the weirdest names for towns all across the world. I mean, they're even weird for their languages. We have names of towns in the United States that are supposed to be English, but they're just weird as hell. So no matter what you do, you're going to get something that's going to back up. I want it to be a doorway in a fictional town that's large enough in that area that's where the doorway into the Crimson Kingdom inside is. So it's like Brookerville, Booker, something like that. And that's where they've got the Redline Communications. So they're working stuff out, and they're spreading out, and they're doing things because there's a market out here. There's people with the sight. They want to talk and communicate. And even though the ThruNet on the inside and the internet on the outside don't really match, there is translation and protocol software that if you're on the inside, you can connect and do things with the internet. And if you're on the outside, where we are, then you can connect through with your software through to the ThruNet, which is just the internet on the inside, but it's so much more and so much better. And I've opened up 24 hours worth of comments in my community tab, and holy smokes, did I get just a tiny amount of comments. Anything more than 0 is awesome. Thank you so very much. Greatly appreciated on that. If I mispronounce the username, no disrespect is intended, and even though I count in American Sign Language, well, with my depression, fibro, and more, I am sometimes lucky I remember anything at all. I don't think I'm going to forget this time, because we have Ice Damon, thumbs up and thank you. The Rick Roller, greatly appreciated. Samurai God 6.0, thumbs up. There is Ben B, greatly appreciated. And IN, thumbs up, thank you. All these 5 people, that left me comments on my videos in the last 24 hours. It is appreciated. Even for a very short amount of time, you do get me out of my head and into the world and dealing with people, if only in text. It is appreciated. Definitely a thumbs up. And hey, once again, I don't know where the links I know where the links are. I don't know where the video description for the video is, because I don't know what device you're watching that on. I forgot how to speak English. I don't know what device you're watching this, so I don't know where the video description is. There, that's English. But inside of that, I have links to all my various channels. You can check that out. I also have links to Twitter, Facebook, Patreon. And again, I would like to thank each and every one of my Patreon patrons. These beautiful and awesome people are literally beautiful and awesome. They keep me alive, and that is appreciated. I like metabolizing. My pets like metabolizing. And it is a very good thing to continue to metabolize. These are beautiful and awesome people, and if you would like to help me metabolize, there are links down below in the description. Thumbs up for that. If you'd like to help me metabolize without becoming a patron, I have a PayPal link down below, and I'm not above grubbing for your spare cash. If you'd like to help me out without sending any cash, I do have an Amazon wishlist link where, hey, there's stuff like cat food on it. I don't know how long my kitty will be here, but until I say otherwise, there's going to be cat food on it, so thumbs up for that. And hey, yeah, if you could toss me a like, I appreciate all the positive validation I get from my existence. A definite thumbs up. The depression of my poor kitty cat, she's almost 20, is just derailing me today. I've been dealing with a lot of depression yesterday and today because of this. Let's see, if you can hit the notification bell on the subscription button, that would be very cool. Yeah, please seek creativity, positivity, and balance in your life. No matter how much life it feels like it's kicking you in the teeth, you gotta keep your head up. And of course, with the covfefe bug still raging and nobody taking it seriously, good God, nobody wears a mask in town. Please wear a mask, wash your hands, maintain your social distancing, don't hang around with other groups, especially other groups of mouth breathers. Good Lord. Wash your hands, try not to touch your face, get vaxxed, get a booster. Do not become a statistic. Hokey smokes. So, until we meet again, today I'm just gonna do my best to do my best, and I hope you do the same. So you take care. Have a great day today. I will see you on the flip side, and that is really a very good thing. Definitely a thumbs up.